Yes, dear. Well, good morning and welcome to Coffee Chat with David and Kylie Knight.
Yeah, I'm so glad you are joining us. Today is Friday, April the 23rd, 2021.
That's right.
And you are live with us on Coffee Chat.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here. Be sure to use the hashtags Hello Knights or hashtag Cup of Awesome.
That's right.
And I will get the comments up. I don't know why they were down. That's my bad. And feel free to comment because we love your comments.
Absolutely.
Hey, I knew that was going to happen.
Joshua
Kohler enjoying his cup of awesome this morning. That's great.
Yes.
And, the other thing we've been asking people is, what's in your mug?
What's in your mug?
Be sure to put down what you're drinking and put hashtag in my mug.
This morning we ran out of our favorite coffee, which is Ko-fi, our sponsor. So we had to pick up a quick bag of Starbucks Blonde Espresso. So that is in our mug this morning until we're trying to, actually, the last several days since we've been using this, we've been plowing through it just so we can get back to our coffee again. We're like, let's have another cup. Let's have another cup just to get through it all.
Joshua Kohler, hashtag in my mug is the coffee or the Christmas blend. Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
You've been hanging on to that one.
That's a nice one, though.
It's a good one. Yeah. Well, and we'll talk about it in a moment, but our sponsor, Ko-fi, has a new roast that we're really loving.
Oh.
We'll talk about that in a moment. Let's do all the other...
I just want to talk about that.
Be sure to like and share because sharing is caring. And what if you're watching this on YouTube?
If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to follow us, subscribe to our channel, and hit the little bell so you get notified. But we'd also love to have you join us live on our Facebook. We go live every Friday at 10 a.m. Central. So be sure to come on over and you can comment and join the conversation.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun. And of course, if you're watching the replay,
hashtag replay.
Or hash browns. I don't know. Okay, anyways. Okay. Well, hey, let's give it up for our sponsor, Ko-fi.
Yes.
So that is the fantastic coffee that we absolutely love, made by Jared Coe, who's right here in the Dallas area. So if you're in the Dallas area and you want to get in on the best coffee you've ever had, seriously, right?
And I know we've talked about his Rwandan roast that changed my life. By the first time I drank black coffee without, nothing in it, just a cup of black coffee, was the Rwandan roast. But just recently, he upped his game again.
Oh, yeah.
And he gave us a little sample bag of this new, what did he call it?
Honey processed Java.
Yes.
And it
tasted like I was drinking a hot cup of, like hot chocolate, almost.
Yeah.
It tasted chocolatey.
It did. It's what I imagine heaven tastes like.
I think so. It was incredible. So we may be switching to this honey processed Java.
That is a possibility because it's pretty fantastic.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know how it would work, like just as a black coffee, but when you make it into
that's how he makes
a latte. He does?
Yeah, he does. He does a pour over and just makes it a black coffee.
Well, I can tell you when you make it as a latte.
That was pretty good.
It was mighty good.
Pretty good.
Okay.
So,
also,
let's talk about our week.
Let me get one other thing in first, because today, as I said, is Friday, April 23rd.
Yeah.
Which is this very special day, also known as David's birthday. So let's everybody wish him a happy birthday. Happy birthday, sweetheart.
Thanks, darling. I appreciate it.
Let's light it up. Give him lots of love, please.
Goodness.
David's birthday.
We're silly around here.
And we like it that way.
We do like it that way. Well, thank you, darling. That's kind of you. Thank
Yes.
you. I've already gotten several comments on Facebook.
Yes.
The beauty of Facebook is, of course, that we get all those notifications. In my mug is salted caramel cappuccino.
Oh,
wow.
That's a good one.
Nice.
Well played, Teresa.
And oh my goodness, this is
yes. Thank you, guys. Keep it going. I love it.
The computer can't keep up now.
I love that.
I gotta try to get us to a screen that's not going nuts.
Look at all the balloons.
It's going crazy. It's going crazy. I love it. Well, we appreciate it. And oh my goodness, so many. So, there's another happy birthday. There's a happy birthday. You guys just rock. You absolutely rock. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Thanks, everybody.
So it's been a week. Last week we had Grant Skeldon on. It was a fantastic interview. Hopefully you got a chance to catch it. Hey, I'm going to try to see if
you didn't and you work with millennials or you're a parent of millennials, go watch that and read his book. It is
the
incredible.
Passion Generation, fantastic book.
Highly recommend it.
It was a great interview.
Yes.
And then it's been kind of a quiet week around here. We've been doing a lot of work, a lot of in the office stuff, booking shows.
Which is nice.
We're getting ready for our trip to Chicago, which is super exciting. Which happens next weekend. And booking some more guests for Coffee Chat.
I made another banana bread.
You did make a banana bread, yeah. And we bought a cake because it's my birthday.
Yes. Oh, look at that. Thanks, everybody. Keep it going. Lots of hearts.
You guys are awesome.
Light it up with those hearts.
That's one of the reasons we love doing this thing.
Thumbs up.
Seriously, Friday is like one of my favorite days.
Me too. It is so good.
It's so good.
Well, anything else before we get to our guest?
Man, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's interesting to talk about. Here, this is kind of cool. So our pastor is in Uganda right now. In fact, this little plug, I'm doing a fundraiser for my birthday, so I put it on the page.
For Uganda Shoe Trees.
For Uganda Shoe Trees, the organization that we're global ambassadors for, that we absolutely love. It's a fantastic organization.
So he's over there overseeing that again at the moment.
Yep, he's over there. I wanted to finish talking about the fundraiser and then...
Sorry,
that's
babe.
okay.
Go ahead.
So for my birthday, I'm raising money. $20 to buy a pair of socks and shoes and 2 fruit trees for a child in Uganda. But I'm not asking for $20. Literally, if everybody just gave $1, that would go a long way. So several people.
Every one of your friends gave $1.
Exactly. It'd be amazing, and we'd blow things up for Uganda.
I mean, if you want to give $20, feel free.
I mean, we've had several people give more than that.
That's true.
Which has been very kind, and we appreciate it.
The work they're doing over there is amazing.
Yeah. And so our pastor is over there with his wife and another team doing some of the work that we just desperately needed. But what was really cool is since COVID's happened, we've been doing Zoom church, right?
Yes.
And so our pastor actually led church from Uganda via Zoom.
Technology is amazing.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, it was great.
So, yeah, I guess that's the other thing that was interesting.
It was good.
Cool. All right, so we get to our guest?
Yes,
because our guest is phenomenal?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we had the chance to meet this guy, several years ago now, and he has the biggest heart, the most love for Jesus, which is fantastic, and a huge, huge heart for pastors, and particularly next-gen pastors.
Right.
But he's a really remarkable guy. I think you guys are going to love him, so please welcome our friend and now yours, Mr. Brian Aaby.
Woohoo!
Hello, sir.
Hey, everybody.
Good
to see
morning.
You. Thanks for having me on. Happy birthday, David.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Welcome to the Coffee Chat. Thanks for joining us.
And where are you coming live from?
From Seattle, Washington, coffee capital of the Big Green Machine.
The Big Green Machine.
That's absolutely true.
And that's what's in your mug this morning, isn't it?
It is. My daughter is a barista at Starbucks. She was supposed to be down at George Fox University down in Portland this year, but last minute COVID, they said, "Hey, you can stay home."
Wow.
So she's like, "Well, I'm gonna apply for a job." So she's doing GFU online, but she got a job at Starbucks. It's been a fantastic run for her, but it's more fantastic for me because she gets her markouts each week, and so I've got free coffee. So I can't complain.
That's a win.
There's definitely better coffees out there, and I will tell you this really quick. Jared's coffee that you guys have, absolutely great. Little quick story. Jared is my friend. I placed Jared in Frisco as part of my job.
I didn't realize that.
I've known Jared since he was up here, and so our little network connections here are so fantastic.
Wow.
Oh, that's
I didn't realize that either. That's so cool.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We love having him in our hometown.
Oh, very cool. Well, thank you for joining us today. And what's really fun coffee connection with Brian is if you ever see his photos as he travels around the country, literally all over the country. He always takes a photo of his Starbucks mug as he's in front of a church getting ready to work with them.
Oh, really? That's
he's got
great.
the best look on his face. It's always fun. Branding is very good.
Well done.
That is exactly what I'm doing, just so you know.
There
That's
you
exactly what I'm doing.
All right, well, let's jump right into it.
Yes.
So let's start off. Tell us your faith story. How did you come to know Jesus?
Yeah, it's a fun question that I get to answer from time to time. On airplanes, sometimes people ask me what I do, and I know that we'll get to that too. But it's always a good conversation starter to say, well, I'm kind of eHarmony for the church and a pastor, and so then they ask like, well, what does that mean? And I'm able to dive into my own story. Kind of the long story short, grew up in the greater Seattle area, not going to church, Christmas and Easter, Lutherans. And my favorite church memory, honestly, was at like age 10 or 11 or something like that. Silent Night being sung on Christmas Eve. You're getting to hold the candle. And pastor says, let's go to prayer. I bow my head, and my younger brother, 8 years old, sitting right next to me. First time he's holding the candle too. Well, he lights his bangs on fire. So I literally look up and the smell of a hair burning, so just that was my favorite church memory then. But we some people think it happened to my hair too, obviously, but
that's not what it means to be on fire for Jesus.
Yes, exactly. So I fast forward. Honestly, sports, acceptance, and girls were certainly my idols. I had no idea what an idol was, but that's what I lived for because that's all I knew. Got invited to Young Life my sophomore year of high school, and I was like, yeah, no, it smells a little too much like the church, and the church didn't smell good to me, obviously, with burnt hair. And so then that summer between my sophomore and junior year, friends came back from Malibu, Canada, Young Life camp, and they said, dude, you got to go next year. And so they convinced me that I should head up there that following summer. So went up to Malibu, Canada, got to hear the gospel for the very first time. And I just knew that was me. The story of the prodigal son was what the speaker kind of built his whole speaking series around. And I was like, man, I am that prodigal. I am the person who put Jesus on the cross and understood grace and trusted Jesus.
Oh my goodness.
Fortunately for me, when I got back from camp, my friends invited me to a youth group. And my first day at youth group, end of the summer, was our youth pastor's first day on the job. And so Steve and I had something in common that first day. We were both brand new. And Steve poured himself into me over the course of my senior year of high school, and a group of other senior guys invited us to help start our junior high youth groups, separate the middle school and high school. So I began to fall in love with youth ministry, had my first Christian girlfriend. Her dad was just a solid believer and began to kind of disciple me and ended up going down to Southern California to go into understanding the ministry more. And I thought I'd be a teacher. I ended up teaching God's word instead. I founded a small church when I was 19 years old. That I wanted to help with the youth group. The lead pastor there, she said, well, we don't have a youth group, so why don't you start one? So started with four middle school boys at a church plant, and a couple weeks later we had 8, and a couple girls showed up. So I was like, I gotta recruit some volunteer leaders on the female side. And over the course of the next 3 years, graduated with a couple degrees and 3 years experience in a youth group of about 50 or 60 at that time. Wow. And so I started my 18 years as a youth pastor. One of the best things that I did, and this is actually, I think, the context, David, for you and me meeting, was my best practices as a youth pastor was I really believed that our students needed to be able to share their faith at a peer-to-peer level. But I saw the mission trips that we were sending kids on was not doing that. Going across a border down to Mexico or Dominican Republic or something like that is great, but it's kind of step down and step away type missions where it's like you're going to work with the little kids with a language barrier, and every week that same kid's raising their hand to accept Jesus because it's accept Jesus and the candy that we're offering you. And so I thought, man, there's got to be a better way to equip our students to be able to share their faith at a peer-to-peer level. And so I did that through rural mission opportunities. I began taking my students to to small cities across America, rural communities, and equipping my students and going into these rural communities and kind of setting up camp for the week, and did VBS for the little kids in the morning, service projects for anybody in the community in the afternoon. And then any teen that we saw during that week, we'd just say, come to the football field tonight at 6. And, town's of 1,500, there's nothing else going on. So all of the teens show up in town, and our students would just be able to play, ultimate frisbee or kickball or whatever. And about halfway through, we'd bring out the Sobeys, or back then it was Snapples, and say, hey, I'm going to grab a drink, and Matt's going to share, why he's here, and the 16, 17-year-old kid would share their testimony. Well, that parlayed itself into more and more churches asking me to train them in how to do this type of mission trip. And so I started an organization called YouthMark. YouthMark then started growing nationally, and I did these free lunches. And I think, David, you came to one of those. Yep. In Dallas, and that's the context how you and I met, as I was marketing to get some teams from Dallas to go into Arkansas and Louisiana and stuff like that. So that then parlayed itself into Mark Matlock, who is a friend of mine, asking me to speak at National Youth Workers Convention and be on the team training team for Youth Specialties. And I then started Youth Specialties version of search and coaching, because I've always been this networker and was helping churches in transition. And then Slingshot was a competitor of mine. And 3 years ago, when Youth Specialties was getting acquired by a couple of friends of mine, they were buying it. That's when Slingshot said, hey, we're tired of competing. Why don't you come aboard and let's work together. And it's been an awesome match for me and Slingshot. That's kind of the professional story. My way more favorite story is I am a married man to Elizabeth for 25 years this summer. We have a 19-year-old daughter. Thank you. A 19-year-old daughter, Hallie, a 17-year-old daughter, Audrey, and a 13-year-old son, Will. And I'm an elder at my church on the teaching team, so I teach 3 or 4 times a year in big church, and still involved with the youth ministry. That's my week in and week out ministry is still with our middle schoolers and high schoolers. So there you go. Probably way too long. You probably need a refill on your coffee now. But, I like my story. No. I'm proud of my story.
You should be. Your story is fantastic. And I don't need a refill on my coffee, because your story caffeinates me so much.
Kirk said, beautiful story.
Yeah, we've got several people commenting. Kirk Quinlivan, another friend of ours who's in the Dales, Oregon, he says, I've been a lead pastor who's benefited greatly from teams coming to rural Oregon. So I'm sure your impact is felt there.
I'm gonna give you some Northwest pride here, just for Kirk's sake. It's the Dalles, Oregon. So,
the Dalles. Sorry. Yes.
There you go. We don't know how to pronounce Amarillo. Nobody does. So we say Amarillo, Texas, even though it should be Amarillo. So let's
there you go.
Do the pronunciation.
Way to call me out. Thanks.
Exactly.
And I love, just real quick before we continue on, I love, because we're also huge fans of Young Life. And I think it's really fascinating, because I know that their big slogan for camp is the best week of your life.
Yes.
And I mean, I think certainly your story exemplifies that. Yeah,
to
absolutely.
That. Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Poster boy.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Cool. So you mentioned really quickly that you have a very intriguing job that you summarized to be like eHarmony for the church and a pastor, which really captures everybody's attention, I'm sure. So could you tell everybody a little bit more about what that is? What do you do?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kylie. It literally, as I start talking to people about what I do, I help with placements of pastors and work with churches. I just found myself like over explaining and wanted people in secular society to understand what I do. And so, like, even last night at my son's baseball practice, I had a friend, a parent, ask, like, what do I do? And I'm like, I'm kind of eHarmony for the church and a pastor. And he immediately understands, okay, so people will say, oh, you're a headhunter. And I absolutely hate that terminology, because it's not like I'm trying to steal people from churches. But I do want, I believe that there are times and seasons where people are open to change. or seeking change. And so I want to be that resource, that networker that understands which churches are looking, what candidates are potentially looking for that next chapter. Sometimes it's because they weren't a fit at their last place, or it's because we need to get home to where my in-laws are because mother-in-law is sick, or whatever it would be. But yeah, just that summary statement. And what I do in short, I'll just use Frisco Bible as a for instance, because right now, Jared has been, in transition a couple times in his life. And a few years ago, I had the opportunity when he was in Colorado, knowing what stuff was going on in his life, to be able to say, hey, Jared, I'm working with this church, Frisco Bible Church. They need a fantastic high school pastor, looking for somebody that has X, Y, and Z. And man, you have those skills of what they're looking to do. And so inviting those two parties into conversation is essentially what I get to do. And it's a joy. And then that's part of my job. The other side is that I get to do coaching with churches. I've got a couple church-wide consults that are happening where churches are just wanting some outside views of be that helicopter in the sky, help us to see the traffic patterns that we can't see for ourselves, help us get unstuck. And so I'm working with their board or working with their staff. And then another church, I'm working with their entire next gen team and coaching both their student ministry coordinator, their kids pastor, in terms of what's this year look like and how can I be of help on the outside. I get to fly into Santa Cruz once a month to be able to be with them for 3 days each month. Like, oh darn, twist my arm to have to be yes, Santa Cruz, California.
Do you need some help with that?
Are you hiring?
Yes, exactly. Yes, I think that they need probably somebody to hang upside down and be in a straitjacket like you were last week, David. Like that would just
Doesn't
be
everybody?
We know just the right person.
Because sometimes we as a church feel that way. We feel stuck and we feel upside down, and so it's a perfect metaphor. But yeah,
we can go on a blind date with them.
I love helping churches and individuals get from A to B, B to C, C to D. That's what I like to summarize. Like what I do is I just get to help churches and or organizations.
I love that, and you do have such enthusiasm for it. Again, following your posts, and of course the branding thing, but like you sense like even in the comments that you make, like how much you enjoy it, and it's always I'm getting to start this relationship with them, I'm getting to start working with them, and I think that's fantastic. I think Kirk thinks it's fantastic too because he wants to be best friends with you. So look, we're making matches here too.
Come on up, Kirk. Come on up.
Brian, meet Kirk. Kirk, meet Brian.
Well, so it's fitting for your role that you're kind of obsessed with 1 Corinthians 12, one body, many parts.
It's a good one.
Does everyone have a role to play in the church, and how is a non-pastor person meant to find their role in a local church?
Oh man, that's such a good question. I love 1 Corinthians. If anybody who's out there that has read the book, the first 10, 12 verses of that book, Paul, thanking God, praising God for the Corinthians and saying, you've been equipped with everything for a life of righteousness, and it's all this praise. And then he takes 15 chapters to basically rip them apart. Like it's kind of like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, only we know it doesn't. The Corinthians have a terrible reputation for everything that they were doing, all the debauchery and everything. But he calls them saints. He calls them set apart. He calls them sanctified. And he says that you have every gift for a life of righteousness. Well, what we have to keep in mind is that he was not writing to an individual. He was not saying, David, you have every gift for a life of righteousness. He's talking to the body of believers at Corinth and saying, together you can live a life of righteousness, because we need every single person in that body to work together to produce that fruit. And so then you get all fast forward to 1 Corinthians 12 and then 1 Corinthians 13, which is about love, but 1 Corinthians 12 talking about how God has arranged the body, and the hand can't say to the eye, I don't need you. And, every single person, not every single pastor, not every single board member, but every single person has to be part of that body and work that out. Now, our specific assignment, being a finger or being a toe or being a kneecap, is different, but it is needed. And sometimes our own identity is wrapped up in, well, I wish that I was the ear. I'm the kneecap. The kneecap is hidden. It's who knows what function it is, but is coming to the realization. And so that I love, tools like Enneagram and Strength Finder and stuff like that help help us to better explain ourselves. But I love spiritual gifts inventories as well for that same reason, to understand. I have, a gift of pastoring, and I have a gift of mercy, or I have a gift of administration. And we see leadership in the church, and this is what youth ministry does so poorly, is that we talk about student leaders, and we interpret it, and students interpret that as being the people that are up front with the guitar or with the microphone. We need people that are leading in mercy. We need people who are leading in administration. We need people who are leading behind the scenes in playing their part just as much, and we need to celebrate those people just as much as the person that's up front leading with the microphone or a guitar.
Is that the button I need?
That is, yeah. Should do it. Yeah, didn't do it. That's all right. Sorry. We're trying to give you this really great overlay we have that's like these beautiful little hearts and emojis and all that. And there it is.
There it is. That's what I was
that is
looking for.
Fantastic.
Yes.
It's so funny. I was actually literally thinking about that concept this morning. That so many people they want to be the upfront, or they think that's the only place that they can actually serve.
Right.
But there's so much in just the little things, and I think so often we put those people up on a pedestal, and we never realize it's the person next to us who might have the greater impact.
Sometimes it's that person at the back of the room, welcoming that person for the first time and having that conversation just in the back of the church.
Absolutely.
That can just be life-changing. So,
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you for...
Preach it!
Exactly.
Cool. So you have also have a coaching circle with the 12 youth pastors, I heard. So why do you believe this is important, and how does this work?
Yeah, I love it. We have at Slingshot Group, we have this thing called a coaching circle that's coming up here in September is when we finally are going to get to launch it. It was supposed to launch last March, but that's literally like 2 weeks prior to the shutdown. Essentially, we were supposed to start like right around the actual, like March 12th is what I kind of see as like the shutdown. By about March 2nd or 3rd is when we had to make the call that like, hey, this doesn't look like it's trending in the right direction. Let's go ahead and be responsible. And so we've had to delay it a few times, but you guys would remember this, that we did a coaching cohort through YS called a 101 Collaborative. And very similar to what we're going to be able to do with a coaching circle with Slingshot, but it's essentially a 6-month coaching experience with youth pastors from around the country that we're going to bookend with retreats. So we're going to start in Seattle in September. We're going to end in Orlando in March. With retreats, using an Airbnb and just being together, doing community, and then for 6 months coaching online together as a group. But then individually, they're going to get coaching from me and a teammate from Slingshot individually through there, and then also they build community. And what it is, it's essentially prioritizing networking, prioritizing accountability, prioritizing being able to give your gifts to the greater body of student ministry by rubbing shoulders and learning from one another, and then individually getting them to grow, because iron sharpens iron, and being in community that way. But then also just thinking about like the gospel impact of knowing, man, I can be in touch with this person in Florida, I can be in touch with this person in Maine, and how are you doing it? How are you contextualizing this across the board? And man, that to me, it's seeing that growth together, and also seeing that growth individually. We brought you guys in. I remember several years ago as we launched the thing, we had you guys come in and just allow people to sit back and laugh and be amazed by your gifts and talents, in this youth room, and you guys blessed us, in a 45-minute show. I think we, took you guys out for dinner, and like everybody got to ask you individual questions and stuff like that. It was just so fun. But so yeah, I get to do that now through the context of Slingshot. They're so gracious to allow me to tap into my gift set by doing that. And because we delayed, just so you know, anybody who's watching this, because we've delayed, we have had a couple people take their registration fee, and I've individually coached those individuals. So I think we have 9 that are stuck with it and said, I'm gonna do this no matter what. But that means
Okay.
I have 3 openings, and so we'll start marketing that
Oh.
probably in May or June. But anybody who wants to DM me, reach out to me and say, hey, I want to be a part of that. We do have a couple openings if people want to follow up with me.
So you're saying there's a chance. That's awesome. I just love that you've got this like kingdom mentality going on that, because it's hard to speak up sometimes for pastors within their own church, right? So talking to somebody outside their community, they can be real honest and open, praying for each other and learning from other people. I just think that it's truly so needed.
It's truly God's timing too, just to speak to that point, because you think of everything that we've been through, not just COVID, but race relations and election and everything. And honestly, part of the beauty of this is that we've got people from Baptist or Methodist, non-denom, AG backgrounds that are coming to this, and being able to speak honestly and openly, and hopefully authentically to like, what have I experienced in this, and to be able to have that refuge. That's a huge thing for me, a safe space to be able to process. Whereas, hey, my church leans red or leans blue, and that means I'm supposed to be that way. Well, here you're not supposed to be any way except kingdom. And being able to speak honestly to that. So I 100% agree with you, Kylie.
And always growing and learning from other people instead of thinking you know it all.
Well, that was the thing that popped in my head, was the networking piece. I think teaching people about networking is so important. I see so many people who try to do it on their own when there's enough resources out there. And certainly you need to contextualize it, and it needs to be, in your Imago Dei. But, there's enough opportunities out there for you to learn.
Oh, we should really jump in and talk about the student ministry event that we went to. Speaking of networking.
Yeah, I mean, so we had the chance to meet you at that first event, and then got to work with you on that event, which of course spun off into how we met Jared.
Exactly.
Because Summer was from that group, and we met we several other people, and so this. This past Sunday. How did we miss that?
Exactly. Right. This was so good.
We're fortunate that Summer invited us to be a part of a local network of student ministers. And they get together once a month for a meeting. And we love going. One, obviously, networking for us is a huge thing. But two, it's also a chance to kind of hear what they're dealing with, because that's important for us, as we're trying to help them. But this past Sunday, they brought all their churches together and all their students together in this park to pray for their friends, their family, the world at large, the hurting,
the local government, the world,
just on and on, and salvation, and it was a beautiful,
amazing.
Yeah, it was beautiful watching
the
these
students
come together.
See it's not just us in this; it's everybody in this together. And it was an incredible time.
Yeah.
So cool.
It really was.
Yeah, again, people working together.
Yep.
So, sorry to interrupt.
A great interruption.
Right. Okay, so with all the work that you have done with students and student pastors and helping the next generation and empowering them, what kind of advice can you give for parents and leaders of teenagers? It's just something that they can easily take away from this and go, "Hey, here's a way that I can help my student." Or
because teenagers.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh man, great question. It's fun because I just right before this, I was talking with a youth pastor who's or a potential youth pastor who's graduating from DTS down there, and is being a candidate coming on to being a candidate with us and looking for the right role out there. And I get to talk with so many young, just graduating, just finishing a residency, just finishing college. Maybe they've had a year or two of experience. And I can kind of tell the youth pastors that I know they're going to have a sustainable youth ministry career versus those that are going to kind of be just a flash in the pan, like one and done type people. And those that are prioritizing, there's kind of 3 aspects of youth ministry to me. It's students. We get into youth ministry because we love students. And then we realize I can't do it on my own. Even my own story started with 4 middle school boys. And then as soon as there was 8 and 2 of them were girls, it's like, okay, I need other leaders. And so the second pillar is that is leaders. And then all of a sudden we realize, it's not just about the student. They have these things called a family attached to them. And so there's parents that are involved as well. But most youth pastors have more of a adversarial relationship rather than an advocate relationship. And so my advice to student ministries is literally a third of your thought process needs to be with students, a third of your thought process needs to be with leaders, and a third of your thought process needs to be with parents. Doesn't mean a third of your time across the board, because really you should probably be more, especially in your early years, 60% plus with students, 30% with leaders, and 10% of your time with parents. But as you get older and they respect you a little bit more and you become a parent, that percentage actually does get to that point of probably a third. Like where me in my 40s, if I was still youth pastoring, a third of my time, I think, is with students, with leaders, and with parents. Whereas in your 20s, it's probably a greater percentage with students, but a third of your thought life needs to be towards how am I equipping parents? How am I communicating with them? How am I resourcing them? I don't have the respect as a 24-year-old to be able to speak to a parent as a parent yet, because I'm not.
Right.
But I can resource. I can bring in people from the outside and help equip them. So that's my advice is literally going back to 1 Corinthians 12. Understand your part. Understand that they have a part. They have a greater influence. So how do I become an advocate for that parent? And then it's reciprocated a lot of times, and they can be an advocate for you as well. So it's really about partnering. But the biggest thing is communicate well. That's the biggest thing that they're asking for is what are you doing? How are you doing it? What's the opportunities? And so communicate, and don't alienate.
Ah, so good.
Great advice.
Okay. And I think that was kind of reflected in some of the conversations we had at the Prayer in the Park thing, because we were talking to several of the youth pastors, and we're like, so how are things going? And they're like, well, it's really great, but like our students aren't coming back yet because their parents aren't coming back. The parents drive the students. So if they're not coming back, the students aren't coming back. And so if you're not investing in them as well, you're going to miss out on that. That important
we're
piece.
like, well, maybe you need a family magic illusion show for the entire family, that the parents want to come, bring the students, bring everybody together, go, we're here.
That's right.
We're open.
Well,
Just
Brian,
a little plug for us out there,
I think it's wise. This is your platform. Use it how you need to.
But if you need coaching for student ministry, Brian's your man.
Just saying.
He is the man.
The man.
As was said before. I'll put that back up. Brian
just
is
a reminder, Brian is the man.
Oh, Chimpo, I love him. I spoke at their camp 2 summers ago. Aaron is awesome. You guys need to come up here and do a show for Aaron and his team there. Incredible. Camino Island. Awesome.
Oh, yeah?
We're down with that.
Okay.
So, Brian, you've given us some awesome, really great, strong, deep answers to some tough questions.
So good.
We're going to shift things a little bit and do things a little more lighthearted with a lightning round that we call 5 questions.
Awesome.
5 questions.
All right. Fantastic. Question number 1, Brian. What are you binge watching right now?
Oh, man. Do you want the real answer, or do you want the I don't know if it's appropriate to share or not.
The real answer or the pastor answer?
What is
MASH.
it?
Like
MASH.
MASH.
Wow.
Like
old school.
1970s.
Yeah.
Really?
Old school. Like I grew
Yes.
up watching it with my dad, and it is it's on Hulu, and without commercials we have like the Hulu thing and it's just so fun to like remember old stuff, but like it's so silly, but I'm binge watching MASH each night.
That's fantastic.
Oh, it's been so long. We might need to do that too.
I think so.
Oh, good times.
We're looking for a new show. Or an old show. If you could you kind of do everything, but if you could do any other job than the one you have right now, what would it be?
Oh gosh. If I was not doing it, like I'll just like eliminate ministry in general and just being able to be a lay person.
Anything.
I think that I think that I'd probably do something in marketing, advertising. Just
Okay.
I love seeing that connection point where somebody's like, "Oh, I need that," and so I don't know. That maybe something in marketing.
I like it. Okay,
Cool.
that's good. I think you'd be great at it.
That still kind of makes sense with you, with your connection
Exactly.
deal. All right. What is your favorite to-go order?
Favorite to go order. Um, I appreciate really good wings anywhere, and so like whether it's sitting down or because of the pandemic, I just
Yes.
found myself craving like being able to watch a game. And so when sports came back, and yet restaurants weren't open, we've got a place called JP's. Close to us, it's just this tap room bar type, sports bar type of place, and they have the best wings in our area. So
Ooh.
getting those to go, yeah, that would be my go-to.
That's a good answer. I like that. All right, what are
Nom,
you
nom, nom.
what are you reading right now?
I am reading. This is so like Jesus juke right now, but I'm reading Colossians in terms of
Okay.
in the scripture, and then I don't even remember the title of it, but I literally just I'm going to start a book that my parents gave me at Christmas about Jerry Seinfeld. I
Oh,
just
cool.
I love I love the old Seinfeld show, and so literally it was sitting on our dresser. I haven't started reading it yet, but I'm going to
Okay.
dig into this Jerry Seinfeld book.
Cherry. All right. Is that last
What-
question?
Last question.
All right. They decide to make a movie of your life. So who plays you?
I saw this question that you were going to ask this, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, who is silly enough, weird enough?" And then I had to like flip the script and go like, "Who have people named as my doppelganger?" You have that
Mhm.
the person
Yeah.
that and I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this because people have like fat shamed him, but Val Kilmer is like the most common one that people have
Okay.
said that I
Oh.
look like, but apparently
Nice.
Val's put on some weight in the years or something, and so I was like, I
Oh.
don't know how to take this. And anyway, but hey, let's just tell him to, I've gone up and down in my body mass as well, so like I'm not going to shame him, and
Right.
maybe I either need to put on some weight or he needs to take off some weight, but let's have Val play me.
I
Just
like
Okay.
it. I like it. Oh, Jason. I think he means Jason Statham. Yeah, Jason Statham. I can see that from the
Who's that?
he's the big dude, plays like he's an action hero, and yeah, I could totally see that.
Okay. Can't think of who that is.
It
right now.
works.
All
It
right.
works.
It works.
Okay.
Or Val Kilmer. Yeah, Val Kilmer was Batman. I mean, I'm just saying.
Mm.
There you go.
Well, Brian, this has been such a blessing, such a pleasure. Thank you so much for your
Yeah.
time today. We really appreciate it. I know that Joshua Kohler put the slingshotgroup.org into the chat. So if people are
Oh,
looking
thank you.
for information about how to get in touch with you guys in your organization, that's the way to do it, I'm assuming.
It is awesome.
Beautiful.
For a slingshot.
Rock on.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to catching up with you down the road.
I cannot wait to come back down to DFW and
Yes.
grab a Coke or a coffee. Better yet with you guys.
Let's do it. Let's get a coffee
I dig
together.
it. I dig it. Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. We'll talk
Thanks,
soon.
Brian.
Bye. And there we go. All right. So I told you guys would love him. He is fantastic. So
Yes.
much fun. So much joy. I
Oh,
just
incredible.
get excited talking
So
to
much
him.
knowledge.
So much knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
Good person to know.
done it all. So next week we are going to be talking with our buddy Chris Hurt. Speaking of the Prayer in the Park, he's a local
He
youth
is,
pastor
actually. Yeah.
here in the area. Works with Frisco Bible Church or Frisco First Baptist
First
Church
Baptist.
of Frisco. I get those two confused.
He's
all the time.
also a comedian.
And he is a comedian. Yes, so there's a lot of laughs in that conversation.
There is indeed.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's Brian is a great guy. So join us next week,
Yeah.
10 o'clock.
That's
And,
right.
Yeah,
Next Friday.
next Friday. Any final thoughts?
Happy birthday, David. That's my final thought.
It's still my
Give
birthday.
David some more love. Hit those heart button emojis.
Goodness. All right, gang. Well, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you next time on Coffee Chat.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
and go. There we go.